We've prided ourselves, to protect our people. That's what our government's done. That's why they do all these overseas ventures, why they pay all our tax dollars, which is a waste, over across the seas to all these people in the name of security and protection of us. Now, there's things I have agreed with. Venezuela, I've agreed with the fact of Greenland making a play there because of what it could bring with our trade and safety. But one thing we've missed, there's two major risks that we're not addressing. One is our own leaders hurting us. We're going to discuss how they're not actually following the Constitution when it comes to taxes and what they're doing with our money. Secondly, which is probably the scariest and the one that we should be doing something about, Trump actually said this is one of the biggest risks, and it's been really in the forefront the last 2 days. Why? Canada. What's the big deal with Canada? Mark Carney just had something he said that sent shockwaves across the world. It went trending because of what he stated. Not only that, who he was actually making bed partners with. Who is his new bed partner? China. Wait till you hear some of the things that just came out of this meeting and how now we may have, where we're trying to keep ourselves safe, so we're trying to protect our inroads and our trades, we may have allowed China and our next door neighbor. This is dangerous. Very, very dangerous. So where we want to make inroads in Ukraine or Taiwan because they're close to our competitors, we may be wanting to shore up what is in Canada. Let's dive into the story. It's scary what it is. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the dangers of owning a house. No, it's not that. The dangers of interest and inflation. Just some eye-opening thoughts on really what a mortgage is and how, again, our leaders are taking advantage of us. Let's dive into these stories today. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much. Again, we're so humbled by you coming back each and every day to watch our content. We're going to talk today about the White House warning dealing with Canada. We're going to start off there first, and then we'll maneuver on to some of the other things. So we talked about the warnings, the dangers, and I said there's two biggest risks. The two biggest risks, one, of course, our own leaders really wasting our money and wasting time. We'll talk about that. But first, let's talk about Canada. The White House and Trump both have said Canada is dangerous under Mark Carney's leadership. Now, Mark Carney, let's just kind of go over what he is. He is a globalist who pushed for the WEF and the movement of Agenda 2030. That was his push. Now, since then, Canada has become more liberalized. It's actually had major problems with a lot of initiatives that is put in to be more of a global agenda. Also, they've taken away the rights for firearms and defense. They've also taken the rights away from people walking in woods. If there's during fire season, they've just kind of banned it. They've kind of made crazy rules. Also, if you go in some areas, you cannot profess the gospel. Things like that means they're building a true globalist society to where it benefits not conservatism or freedom, but a bigger play of an agenda. So it's already a dangerous thing that we have right on our border. Now, let's go a little further. Just the last 24 hours, I want you to listen to what Mark Carney said, and if this doesn't creep you out, it should. Direct quote from Prime Minister Mark Carney. I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership with China sets us up for, quote, New World Order. Not rushed, not off the cuff. He literally said, this sets us up for the New World Order. He didn't just state it. He paused and he said, the New World Order. He wanted to make sure everybody heard that. When he stated that, it wasn't a slip, it wasn't a thought pattern, it went viral. It sent shockwaves. This is also from Mark Carney. He shared this on social media. Thank you to the Premier Li for the warm welcome in Beijing. Our countries align in many ways. Listen to that now. Our countries align in many ways, such as clean energy, agriculture, and finance. Now, they're not on clean energy at all. I don't understand why everybody says China's on clean energy. They sell us solar. They want to do solar, but they're not helping the climate movement, if you're a globalist, by the way. We focused on how Canada and China can work together to build stronger, more sustainable economies for both our nations. So where we have more in common with Canada, with the people, the fact that we're literally in the same hemisphere, the fact that our lands are touching, now you're seeing a play. China may be infiltrating Canada. And Mark Carney, as the crazy kook leader he is at the globalist level, he is embracing this as a spit in the face of Trump. Donald Trump actually said this. He said that this could backfire on us. The fact that we're allowing for this leader to lead Canada, and we see the dangers. Now, you heard the push of Canada being the 51st state. Now, we know that's not going to happen. Greenland's more obvious that it could actually work because it's only 30,000 or 40,000 people, and the land mass is already working in a great negotiation with Trump. So that's more attainable than Canada. However, if we don't build a stronger alliance with Canada and the Canadians, not this leader, because this leader will fail you, Canada, and he is building alliances with China. Is that what you want? Do you really want a style leader like anyone like Xi or Mark Carney leading you? What has went wrong with you? It blows my mind that we're allowing this to happen in our neighborhood, literally at our back door. Now, we're trying to shore up Venezuela. We're trying to shore up Greenland. We have someone on our border that could be very, very dangerous for us. Now, we're not going to talk about Mexico and how dangerous it could be with the cartel situations. We've already kind of stopped a lot of that. Trump was actually putting more border in and actually buoys in the Rio Grande just the other day to make sure that the border crossings stay at the minimal. However, Canada is allowing for many, many Chinese nationalists to come in and work and immigrate and work together to build their economies. So we're allowing Chinese nationals, not only in our country in the schools, but we're allowing Chinese nationals to come right at our border and build a relationship with Canada. And guess what? We talked about the Cuban Missile Crisis. We've talked about the dangers there. We talked about the dangers of Venezuela and how they had a relationship with China. These people are on our border. There's a little fence. Some areas it's not even a fence. And we're just allowing them to play neighbor. And welcome them to the neighborhood. We have to be very careful of this. This is something that we're not paying attention to that could come back and haunt us, because while we're focused on Taiwan, which is Chinese neighbor, which is part of China, while we're focused on Ukraine, while that's an old Russian hold, and the fact that we're trying to play in both those things, our aggressors are literally playing right in our backyard, and we're not doing anything about it. Have you heard any of the politicians talk about that? No. The only person that's actually said something about it is Trump, and yet, because he can't get enough people and support it, he's not going to be able to stop it without just dismantling a relationship with Mark Carney. And see, Mark Carney seems like he doesn't care about America. He's trying to build this relationship with China to fulfill his needs and stay away from America. That means we could actually have a very, very hostile neighbor within the next 5 years. Listen to this. China allows for visa-free entry for Canadians. They're building a way to go and get to China for Canadians at the same time. Canada has opened inroads for China's to have a visa-free entry as well. They're working on building a better alliance together. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think that actually benefits Americans. Now, the second risk, here it is. I want to read this from Matt Von Swollen. Elon Musk shared it too. It said, the GOP will forever be haunted by taking photos with Elon, telling them they support him, believe in Doge, and praising that work, and yet have done nothing and went against it. This hidden Ned bill was put in by Mike Johnson at the very last hour, where it basically funds all this global fraud that we're trying to get a hold on. We're trying to stop it. Well, your congressman, conservative, quote-unquote conservatives, the Main Street Republicans is what they call themselves, is the ones that just turned around and backed it. I want you to listen to what Elon Musk said. Elon Musk said, I literally tried my hardest and did my best. I cannot stop the dangers of Washington. Now, that's a bold statement. Now, before we start talking about the more dangers of what our government's doing, a word from today's sponsor. I wanted to try it just to say, is when our phone's listening to us, the information that we put on there, how dangerous is it for us? Are we actually compromised? So I said, you know what, I'm gonna go to Google, and I'm just gonna Google one of my sister's names. So I typed in her name. All of a sudden I started realizing my oldest sister's old address from 4 years ago was on there. Our home phone number was listed on there from when I was a kid. Not only that, it gave emails. It gave all this information. So I called her and I said, do you realize I can get all this information, probably take out a few credit cards, open new accounts? It blew her mind. I want you to try this too. I want you to go and just Google one of your family members' names. Not to be a creeper or anything, but I want you to just test my theory. Go out there and just Google. It will blow your mind at what you can find out about your family members. The sad thing about when you search, a lot of this information, a lot of these websites, a lot of the places that you go are ran by data brokers. They're getting your information, and guess what? They're sharing it with people who are not the most reputable, maybe even on the dark web. From scammers to spammers, none of these people are actually looking out for your well-being and your information. Now, here's the thing. They're not legally able to have your information if you tell them to take your information off. But I'll be honest with you. If you start looking online, you realize how many people have your information. It's almost impossible for you to go to all these companies and say, please, take my information off your sites. See, that's the benefit of my sponsor today, Aura. Aura comes alongside you. They work to do just that, to take your information away from being vulnerable, away from being compromised, from the people that want to scam you and spam you all the time. Aura identifies all the data brokers that are getting your information, and they give an opt-out clause, meaning they cannot legally have your information anymore. It's kind of like having a house and having doors and having locks and never locking the door. Aura allows you to lock the door. Give Aura just a few weeks. I promise you what you're going to see is your information is going to start being yours again. You're going to realize the spammers and scammers are going to stop. Aura also continuously monitors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're going to make sure they let you know if it is. Also, they have a world-class VPN to keep you safe as you search the internet. Do not miss out on this opportunity to utilize Aura to benefit you and your family's safety online. Remember, let's lock the door. You can go to my link below, aura.com/themacs. It's in the description. When you click on that, you're getting a 14-day free trial. In that 14 days, you're going to realize all the benefits of what they're doing. They're going to opt your information out from being vulnerable and compromised. Check out Aura today, aura.com/themacs. Do not miss out on this opportunity to have this free trial along with your safety. Mike Benz says the year before Ned was created, the head of the CIA wrote to the head of the Justice Department pressing him to support Ned because Ned's operations help in secret roles all over the world. And we already know this has been tied to so much Democratic fraud. We've already known it's been tied to all these spending bills that the Republicans are doing. Just because they break them down and make them eat single item spending bills, they're still passing and they're still blowing our money. So the dangers of the risk of Canada, yes, that's a big deal. But the other danger is the fact that our own leaders are taking advantage of us and we're not doing anything about it. We keep electing the same people. The incumbents support, I'm talking about Republicans and Democrats, the incumbent support, if they've got an I behind their name, means they're career politicians, they've been there for a long time. Did you know that they have about a 75 to 85% chance of going back in because the establishment knows they've already got them, and if they can keep putting them in power, they don't have to teach the new guy. They already know the bureaucratic way. So they love when people come back and they become incumbents. That's why no matter who's president, no matter who's in Congress, the Senate and the Congress and everybody in Washington supports the machine. And the machine, no matter if it's RLD, is invaluable to them and actually it's costing you everything. I want you to listen to what Andy Frisella said. Now, I'm not using his language because he has some very heavy explicatives, but I want you to listen to this. Where in the Constitution does it say that the government can tax us and send our money overseas and to send to all these port projects? We are slaves to this world. Something like 197 countries receive financial aid from the United States. However, no one is actually giving us money. They're taking our money and sending it across the world while we're working our tails off. Why are we the ones that always subsidize the world, and even though half the people in America are struggling to survive? This is because we have failed leadership. It's so true. We have failed leadership. Now I want to mention this to you. Three things that should just blow your mind. All right, so it came out that, that Ro Khanna and California is supporting this wealth tax. I love what Sean Ryan asked him, and I love what Scott Bessent said too. Scott Bessent said, while California is wanting to raise this billionaire tax to help pay for their problems and help fund all the things that they have done with the government, he says they have yet to cover the $600 billion in fraud that they have not actually audited to see what it went to. So Ryan asked this question. Ro Khanna said, with a 1% tax on wealth, all the billionaires will be leaving. Come on, that's not patriotism. And I love what Ryan said. He said, yeah, but Scott Bessent said yesterday that you have $600 billion of fraud in the California state. And yet, instead of fixing that, you just want to tax the billionaires more to get more money to then show waste, fraud, and abuse because you're actually not fixing the problem. You want to throw more money at it at the cost of business owners, business leaders, and the people of your state. Now, that's the risk that we play. Not only is Democrats doing that, Republicans are doing it too. They're all wasting your money. I want you to listen to this right here. And this is why inflation and interest is a big deal. Because when inflation is up, interest goes up to try to balance it out. Well, guess what? Who gets rich off all that? Well, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Who does that affect the most? What affects Main Street? I want you to listen to what this lady says. She said, here I am buying a $300,000 home that should only cost $200,000, but because of inflation and because the cost of goods and because the government has caused so many problems with not protecting the man and us, they're protecting themselves. She says, I'm having to pay $300,000 for a house that's probably only worth about $200,000 just a few years ago. Says, not only that, my mortgage rate is 5% instead of 3 or 2%, which it should be, so it's 5% because of the government wasting my money. So the interest goes up. Now listen to this. Since she is going to have a 30-year pay on this house, her actual payment on a $300,000 house that's only worth $200,000 is going to be $864,000 worth of a cost of a home. Not only that, she's having to pay property tax on top of that each and every year. So now she's going to be, in the end of 30 years, if she goes on, she will pay over $500,000 to $600,000 worth of interest, along with property tax that the government can pretty much take her house at any point in time if she chooses not to pay the government, in which California is going up on this. This is a California story. But listen to this. This is not even the finished part of it. Not only is she doing that, the house is already going to lose value because it's at the very highest point, and the government has allowed for those inflation points to go up. But guess what? If all of a sudden government gets into building houses like they're promising, like all these states are promising, there's been people promising millions of houses built, even Republicans. What does that mean? The supply goes up, the demand goes low, house values plummet. So now we're seeing someone who's going to overpay because of inflation. It's going to overpay because of interest. And both of those things are caused by your government. And on top of that, you're going to have to pay more taxes and more property tax. My property tax went up 20-something% this last year. So instead of this is what some con man told me, a political hack. I get so angry about property tax. He said, "Well, we cut the cost in Mississippi for the older people, so they won't have to pay property tax. So guess who's got it? You've got to fill it. If we can't get it one way, we've got to get it another way." No, here is the problem. Is you think you have to have my money to work. If you have to have my money to work and you have to keep charging me and charging the people and still can't balance a budget, that means you need to be fired. And see, we're not doing that enough in America. So the two biggest risks, today's video, our neighbor is allowing enemies in, literally calling for it. Said that they're fixing to import 49,000 Chinese vehicles, something they've never done, but it's a spit in the face to President Trump. So Mark Carney's going to do it. Allowing for Chinese nationals to come in. Allowing for them to be a part. Allowing them to build a relationship. It's amazing how we're allowing for the enemy at our doorstep. And what's even more amazing is we keep electing these same people, these same political, selfish people to rule us and ruin our lives. Come on, people, wake up. I want you to listen to what Chamath Palihapitiya said. And again, it's a billionaire. And again, I'm not everything he says I agree with, but he, in this point, made a very valid statement. He said, what we don't realize is there's probably only about 150 people that truly rule the world. It's a class of uber rich people and biggest players, and yet we say the politicians are the ones that actually have us. It's probably the globalist, people like Mark Carney. But he said, what it is these people rule the politicians. He said, you wonder why these politicians pass this? Because they get money, but also there's a ill will behind it. There's evil. Now, he goes on in the story, talks about how he wants to try to get to that level to where he can make it better, blah, 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 blah. Bottom line is this. We are led by people who care about themselves, about power, money, wealth, and control. Until we realize that, we're going to have enemies at our doorstep, enemies within, and enemies abroad. We have to focus on fixing the problems. And that means getting wiser, voting for the right people, and putting people that care about America in power. Guys, let me know your thoughts on today's video. God bless.